Hello, Northside ladies. It is Amy back with another episode of the podcast. Libby is sick. Libby is not sick, but Joan is sick. Joan is sick. They got back from vacation and Joan's sick. Yeah. So I'm here with Sarah Tanner.
Hey.
Hi. I wave even though probably most people are listening and not watching.
I know. I didn't know we had a video yet, so now I feel like I have to wave.
It is a thing. But on YouTube, people see the wave, so that matters.
Exactly.
We're just going to jump in. We're doing an interview today with Sarah. What's interesting about Sarah is that she's a Northside girl, but also she works here.
Yeah.
So she falls into multiple categories. You are a Northside woman, and that's not one of my questions, but what is your role that you get, like your job here? Paid for, presumably.
What are you about to say?
Do you get paid?
I do, in fact, get paid.
Okay, good. You should. So, just checking.
So, thanks for checking. So, my job is the college ministry associate. So, what that means is I do a whole bunch of different assorted tasks. There's a different list of, but like I spend part of my day up at the church and the other part of the day up at the NSC building, which is the college ministry. Well, it's the church's building next to campus, but it's
at Weatherford College.
Like we use it for college ministry because it's like right next to the water tower on campus. So like one of the way I've described it to help people realize how close it is, one of the entrances to our parking lot is through the Weatherford College parking lot. So like it makes it like it's right there, which is really cool because that means we get to have students come that wouldn't come before.
Absolutely.
Like there are students that will walk from the dorms for small groups, which normally there's a group of them all coming together, so they'll drive together. But like if somebody
still,
like,
if someone's like, hey, come with us, it's just like, we're just going to walk over here.
Yeah.
So. I wondered if that was, I mean, when I heard that Northside bought that or has that property, I was like, that's what I would think would happen. Is that kind of what's happening?
Yeah, that's where we have our small groups, and then our monthly young adult worship service, which is us and the young professionals age groups. Yeah. We're all up there for that monthly worship service and for our weekly small groups. So
very cool.
It's a super cool use of the space, but I spend half of my day up there. So that way students can come up there and do homework, hang out, play pickleball. And then if like people can come meet up there for discipleship, there's one or two that'll like come up there.
So you're kind of running the show there, like monitoring and having the space available kind of.
Yeah,
love it.
I get to help keep that available and make sure it's ready for Thursdays and stuff. And then I do like all our college ministry social media stuff because Instagram is the thing for college students. So it's an easy way
for young people
to keep them in the loop and communication. Because like although we text them like that way, someone that hasn't been involved in a while and like, like, you know, they can see that and be like,
jump back in? Sure.
Yeah,
I've gone to Instagram before to see when the docs is, like what date it is or what time does it start? What's it like?
Exactly.
Midnight? It's so late.
For the person that's too embarrassed to ask their group leader, hey, when does that start again?
Right.
It's on there.
The old lady that wants to come. So that kind of answered. So we're going to go out of order.
Okay, that's fine.
Where you said, as far as your work here, and then as far as your like ministry and your personal life being at Northside, where are you involved? Like, where might we find you typically at Northside, like attending or teaching or leading?
So normally you'll find me, I'll sit with most of the other college students during the first service, and we all like to go sit together during that one. And then during the second service, I'm in college hour, which is our college age group.
Okay. So that's Sundays.
Yeah. It's our Sunday
service
school class.
Versions.
Yeah. So that's usually what that does. I've got to lead that a couple of times, but normally I'm just I'm just participating.
Yeah, to be an attendee.
Participating.
It's nice sometimes.
So I get to do that. And then so that's kind of what our Sundays look like. My Sundays look like. I said ours. My Sundays look like. But then on Thursdays is when we do our small groups. Okay. We don't do them on Wednesdays just because there's no class on Friday for students. So that means like unless they're in like the nursing related programs, everybody else doesn't have class. So it just makes it a nice evening in which to do things. So on Thursday nights, I'll be up at the NSC building getting ready for small groups, and then I do lead one of our small groups.
I was going to say, don't you lead a group?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I've led a small group for, I guess it'd be through 3.5 years now.
So 3.5. Yeah, it kind of flies by, doesn't it,
Yeah.
sometimes? Wow, 3.5 years, really?
Mhm.
Wow. How old are you?
21.
That's one of our questions. So 21. Okay. A youngin'. A
Yeah.
youngin'.
I feel like one of the older ones in the college ministry because every time I see it, like when I have to deal with any of the like the forms that they have to fill out for our trips and stuff, if I see like a faraway birthday, that's when I'm like, oh no. I think what makes it worse is my brother is the same age as some of them, and he's a senior in high school. So like when I see that,
That year.
I'm just like, oh, I
That
can't
does
see
not get
that.
better with age. It just keeps, you just
Yeah.
learn to accept it, though.
Yeah.
You're like, okay,
Yeah.
people.
Oh yeah, like once you get to know them, it's fine
More
and normal.
little,
but it's
little
just
people are
funny.
being born all the time, and then they
Always.
grow up, and then it's a whole thing.
You
It's a
know.
whole cycle.
A whole thing.
So, tell me how you came to be in a relationship with the Lord. I know a little bit of your testimony, but tell us.
Yeah. So, I grew up at Northside, so I grew up in church. Was super blessed to get to do that and to get to grow up here. But when I was little, my mom and I had talked one night before bed, and she was just like, "If you ever want to like talk about asking Jesus into your heart, like we can." And I remember like laying in my bed. I had to have been like 5 or 6. Like I was young.
Really young.
Like laying in my bed thinking about it. I was like, yeah, I think I do want to do that. So I went and like asked her about it, and she and I talked through it, and that was when I asked Jesus into my heart. And like I had a couple of seasons in my life where I was like, was I saved then? I don't know. I think like at this point in my
Sure.
life, I'm confident that that was when I was saved.
Yeah.
But I've like got to see the growth, which I mean, the hope is that once you get saved, you grow with Christ. So
Right.
like I didn't know a lot then, but like I can see the growth from then.
Yeah.
So like that is when I got saved, and then it's cool because I've got to see him work in my life and use me in a bunch of different areas throughout that time. Like I got to see him work in my parents' lives because they were divorced and then they got remarried. So that was just a cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
cool.
that's a crazy
Wow.
one to get to see him do.
very
Like
cool.
because I don't know how that could happen to people unless
It does.
God
though.
works in it.
Redemption.
So that like
Yeah.
that was really cool. Like that was my big, like one of the big things that I got to see him do in my life between like then in the end of high school and then in college. I think that's really when I like got to learn what it looked like to ask him like, God, what do you want to do with my life? Not just like, oh, this is what I want to do. God, will you bless this? Like, is it
Yeah.
cool if I do this now that I've decided it and
I'm going to
committed
do it
to
either way, but
Yeah.
would you also be part
Yeah.
of it?
So, yeah, that's
I gotcha.
definitely, I think, the attitude I probably had about
Yeah.
it before I was in college. So it was cool to get to learn that in college because I feel like college has been like my biggest growth season in
Yeah.
my walk with Christ because that is a big, like, that's a thing you have to work on for the rest of your life. I feel like
sanctification is a lifelong process.
it's
for
always
sure.
asked, like,
Yeah.
always having to learn what area of your life that you're holding on to and you got to give up to him. So,
Well, and I think you grow in other, like emotional maturity at this time in your life. So,
Yeah.
like when you get to that point of, having to really start behaving like an adult and like doing adult things. So, it makes a lot of sense that you have that opportunity to go, okay, is this a true like, discipleship, faith, like Lord of my life situation, or because there's a point of salvation and that's important, like you said, that exists, but then you've had the opportunity for some new growth, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Love that for you.
Thanks.
That's what the kids said 5 years ago, I think.
People still say that.
Oh,
One of
good.
the college girls said it yesterday.
Oh,
So
great.
you're still hip with the times.
Yes, you heard it here. You heard it here. I'm going to have Jeff just cut that little piece of audio out for me and then make that my ringtone. Great. So, has your family been at Northside since like forever before you were born?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're born
my mom,
into Northside.
My mom has some story about like the Sunday after I was born. She like they weren't gonna stay at church because they had me, but like she went like and popped in because she wanted to hear whoever was singing that day. So
Okay. Yeah. Born into the Northside family. Okay. Because some people are like, oh, here's how we ended up here, and I too am like, my mom was pregnant with me at Northside. So this is just where we are. So, this one. What has God been teaching you lately? I gave you these questions in advance, so you may.
I know, but
sometimes
then
that
I
helps,
low-key
and sometimes
forgot
it doesn't.
for a little bit, and
It's
then
all
remembered
good.
to look not that long ago.
All good.
One of the things that we've actually been going through this a lot in our college ministry, so like it's cool because we got to like our leadership team. The way we do things is like before our small groups, we all read the passages that we're gonna ask them to read and like do our prep work over it as a team and like help come up with our questions, and we all get to kind of create our own flow for it. So like the amount of depth we get to, this is a new way we're doing things, so it's like created a different depth. So I've been like a total Bible nerd about it and loving it. But like it's cool because every single one of like the commandments that we've gone through so far is just like pointing back to like the first commandment, which like the whole point of it is just that like the God of the universe, like our creator who loves us and has done all these things for us, he is asking us to do these things. So like, but like it's the way the passage said, it starts with, for I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. So like before he even gives them this command, he is reminding them that he has done things for them for like, he did things for them before anything that they could have done. So like it's just cool to remember like he's worthy of our worship, but also we're called to worship only him.
It's a good
and
reminder.
Like we've got to talk about like all the different aspects of that. So that's just like
so
feels
good.
like it pops up in everything right now. So
I love the Old Testament because I always joke that I'm the Israelites because it's so easy for me to forget what God's done and then not be trusting, even though I can look back and see so many places like what on earth do I think is going to happen next?
Literally.
Like it doesn't matter. He has a plan, and I think someday maybe I'll learn to just takes a lot of effort, apparently.
It's that
trial and error.
sanctification.
Yes.
So.
Same thing over and over.
Yeah.
And aren't you also in school right now?
I am in school right now.
What is your degree?
My degree is hopefully going to be, I'm starting with an advanced certificate. So it's like a master's level certificate, but hopefully just going to go ahead and commit to getting a full master's in theological studies.
Okay. I remembered you are at DBU, right?
Yes, I am at DBU.
Okay. I remembered that, but I was like, okay, so does that play a role when you're like prepping your work with your group and like studying? Like how do those two things play into each other?
It's cool because they're like random facts that like, because I'm actually in Old Testament right now.
Yeah.
So like there were random things that we'll learn about like that. It's that part of the Bible is like the first 5 books is called like the Pentateuch. I can't never say.
Pentateuch. I know.
I was like,
I don't know if that's right.
I'm gonna butcher it on camera for other people to witness. But like it's like, so I was like learning about those things as we started everything. So it's cool because like random details that would like help it make more sense like popped up, which was really cool.
Very.
And then like one of the biggest the nerd things that I found was in the I think it's the third commandment, but God says, I'm a jealous God. Mm-hmm. And because he's saying don't serve anybody else before me, I'm a jealous God. The word for jealous that is used for him is an entirely separate word than is used for human jealousy in the Bible. Like
the Hebrew word in the Old Testament.
Yeah,
is
it is
different
literally just for him. Like it says jealous, like used for only God. So like that was
a word.
Like
the only use is like, how God feels about
literally,
this.
it's like it's so different. Like our jealousy is so undeserving of his holiness that like, and because ours is usually out of sin, that like
selfish,
that they could not even use the same word because it defiled the way like his jealousy.
They had to
because
use
his
a different new word because there's no concept other than that for humans. Oh my goodness.
So
wow.
That was my nerd moment that I like went and told like literally everybody around me. I was like, I woke up, my roommate, when she woke up that morning, I was like,
guess
I was
what?
like, how able are you to process information right now? She's like, I won't have a great reaction. I was like, doesn't matter. I have to tell you this.
How awake are you?
Yeah.
I love that. That's a good tidbit too for all of us. Take that away from this episode.
It was a fun one for me.
Good one. Okay.
I don't even know if that answered the question.
It did answer. Well,
I got distracted because it's exciting.
That's exactly what I was wondering is if you're studying in certain ways at school and you're studying in certain ways in your small group. Because I find that to be the case for me too. Like, oh, if I'm in Rooted and then I'm also teaching our Tuesday night Bible study, a lot of times things will start to,
Yeah. Things
coalesce a little bit. And it's very interesting.
Yeah. Things have been overlapping in so many different ways that I just
It's a long book, but it's also not the Bible.
Yeah.
Long and short.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given, or just a really good piece of advice is usually what people end up saying, because that's a hard one.
The best piece is a very hard one.
It is.
I've been given a lot of
How do you narrow it down? But so sometimes we'll just ask it like, what's a really good piece of advice that you've been given?
I think the one that like I felt like stuck out to me when trying to think about this before, because you did give me, sorry, I think I just kicked you. This question, when you gave me the question before, I was trying to think about it a little, and I think it's just the side of asking God what he wants first and giving him time to giving the time to listen to him first, so then you get to see what he actually wants. And not just
instead of asking him to come along for the ride that you're already going to go on.
Yeah.
You said that, I think, when you were teaching Rooted, maybe you said you've gone from, oh, this is my plan and this is what you were talking about missions. You just assumed that you would be doing overseas missions at this point in your life. Yeah. That's not what God has had for you.
Yeah. Nope. Seeing as I'm still in Weatherford, Texas.
It's a tough one. It is. Especially when it's something that is generally perceived as something that's holy and good. Yeah. It's a good thing that God would want for you.
Yeah.
If that was his timing for you now. But it's not.
Yeah. Well, Andy actually talked about, and I think it was the day right after I taught my Rooted. So I was freaking out trying to make eye contact with one of my friends that had come to listen and support me. Because we've heard him say this before, but it was cool because he talks about how, with that, when you ask God and where you're obedient wherever he wants you, that is the place where you will get the opportunity to grow the most with God. And that is the best spot for you to be, because that's where God is. So
Yep. I had a talk with a friend a few months ago that was, person that I think she's going to end up marrying is living in Abilene, and she lives here.
Gee, I wonder who.
And, because I remember her saying, I have a business here. All my, my friends are here. I'm established here. I don't want to move to Abilene. And I told her, listen, I don't want you to move to Abilene either. But if that's what God has for you, you better go to Abilene, even though no one's going to love it. We're all going to be like, what? Yeah. But if that's really what God has for you, you better go, because, I mean, who are we? Who are we to, and that's, thankfully that's not what God had, but I mean, he has a plan, and it's scary sometimes to just again, your situation was something that God would really, be, that would be a blessing in your life. That would be a blessing to other people. Something we think that God would be very much in favor of doing mission work. It's a good thing, right? But was it Van that used to say doing the right thing the wrong way is still the wrong thing? Or maybe. I think you can use that timing wise too. Doing the right thing at the wrong time is still not what God has for you. There's some variables there. It's hard to, I love that you're listening to that you're listening to him. Yeah. I'm not always the best at listening.
I'm not either, but
sometimes
but yeah, it was cool because one of the girls in our college ministry was in one of the front rows when I was talking about that part at Rooted, and I could see her also getting emotional. I was you can't get emotional because I'll get emotional, because she and I would have known each other for a short window of time if I'd gone off in missions in January, but also if I had immediately shot off to go literally anywhere else, there's so much of her walk that I wouldn't have got to witness, and she's an encouraging one to get to witness, and we have real friendship now that it took a while to form, because that does take time sometimes, but now it's a joy to get to witness, and
one of those things you would have missed. Yeah. Which of course there's, obviously there's things that you've missed out on doing that mission work too, but this is what God had for you right now. Yeah. And that's one of those very special things that you got to experience, which is, I don't know. Again, if we're not careful, we're the Israelites. We can look
Yeah.
back and go like, oh, well, we just figured it out.
Yeah.
No,
But you
not
didn't.
that. Okay. And then lastly, this is our catch-all question.
Okay.
What else would you want women who are listening or people that are listening to know? Like what is the thing that you're like, oh, that needs to be said probably, if there is one.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I feel like the jealous God thing was just
It's very good.
That was my that one is one that it's kind of like one of those things that like stirs your affections for Christ.
Yeah.
Like that is it's a cool to be. We got one year in our leaders meetings. They talked about like seeing what think about the things that stir your affections for Christ. So right now I feel like I'm becoming a Bible nerd. So like finding out those little details stirs my affections for him. So like maybe just for other people to like think about the things that stirs your affections for him.
Yeah. And we can find it if we truly dive deep. That's one of the things that Rooted has really helped me with is like looking deeply, and I think our Tuesday night group, right, is in, maybe we're in 1 Corinthians right now. So nice. Studying the Greek and seeing, like you said, what it's wild what some of it translates to literally, because it doesn't make any sense in English. Basically, it's just a lot of gibberish. But
of course,
but the concepts, like the actual concepts of what was intended to be written, and that's just, I love that you're going deep, and you're in school, you're working here, you have a lot going on.
Yeah, it's busy. It's been a busy semester.
Yeah, I would say so. But it sounds like it's good busy.
Yeah, it is.
We're glad to have you here. I mean, we would support you if missions were it too, but we got to keep you a little longer, which is nice for us. Yeah. So, well,
glad to be here. So.
Thank you for interviewing with us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
I think we have so many very, one of the things Willetta Crossland said when we did her interview was like, she's leading a Rooted group this year. And she said, she loves hearing what the young women in our church have to say.
That's cool.
Which I really respected. I think sometimes we get the impression I'm categorizing myself as somewhat younger. I think I'm probably getting closer to the middle. But I never know which camera to look at either. Which doesn't, when I watch it back, sometimes I'm like, you're not even looking at the right camera. But I just thought, like, there are times that maybe with, not ill intention, but it's easy to feel inferior or looked down on because of youth, but because you haven't had a lot, and people are probably quick to tell you haven't had the life experience that they've had, which is true and factual. But I don't know. I love that there's a lot for God to teach us in every one of those parts of our lives. And there are times that, someone that's much younger than me is further along on their walk with Christ, like on their journey. So I just love that we have a church that lets us all have, fellowship with each other. So
it was super cool to get to do Rooted, because I was part of me was intimidated because I'm used to speaking to college students. So like at this point I am one of the older of the college students. So like, it's like, I feel like the more experienced person there, but like I was like, these are like adult ladies with like children, like
a little more authority maybe with younger college students.
Yeah,
but you did great. Yeah,
thank you.
We have a different, for every week with Rooted, we have a different person leading like our large group teaching, and Sarah did one of them recently. It was really good.
Yeah, and then Pastor Jim followed me, so I was relieved he was not before me. That would have been intimidating.
You can find Sarah's Rooted teaching on our YouTube channel. So
yeah, it is on there.
It's out there. So I encourage you to go
back and watch. Did I watch like 0.2 seconds? I was like, I'm gonna turn this off now.
Yeah, if you start getting your stuff recorded often enough, you get used to saying things that don't make any sense and then hearing them back. It's okay.
It's fine.
It's okay. Not that you did that, but I do that. Okay. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us. And happy Thanksgiving. It's nearly Thanksgiving. We're getting into the busy season. So, just things about the reason for the season and things like that, find a little bit of that spiritual journey. I would encourage all of us to do that during the holiday. It's easy to get
caught up.
Oh man, and things just get wild schedules, and I get it. Believe me, but
Yeah.
happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you. I don't know. Maybe in December. I'm not really sure. There's no
Fair.
plan. I'm working on it. We'll see you when we see you. Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye.